folks. Crossing south.
This call center, as well as many other nearshore businesses and manufacturing efforts, are a very big part of this border region. We found one of the masterminds behind it all, and his name is Enrique Esparza. He's been in the manufacturing industry for over 25 years with expertise in establishing and administrating new companies in Mexico. As a graduate from the University of San Diego, he's helped establish over 220 companies in the Baja California region. He often represents Mexico's industry in conferences and panel discussions to share his expertise on managing foreign operations in Mexico.
So Enrique, everyone knows that Tijuana is a major hub for industry, maquiladora, production. Tell me what's going on in the city. I mean, people want to know, how big is that in Baja or Tijuana?
Absolutely. Well, just to give a little bit of background, the maquiladora industry, or EMEX industry as it's known now, it's been around since probably mid-60s here in Tijuana. It started off with electronics, was probably one of the pioneers that brought a lot of manufacturing to the region. But however, today we have an ecosystem that includes medical, aerospace, electronics. I mean, you name it, we have it. And even into areas that are not traditional manufacturing, call centers, for example, biotech is here.
I just saw Hubble has a place here, right?
Exactly. So we've got a lot of innovation. We've got a lot of unique players, worldwide companies. Tijuana, for example, is #1 in medical device exports.
Oh, really?
Worldwide, right, to the U.S. So we are the largest. The Baja region has approximately 400,000 direct labor manufacturing employees today. 400,000 families. And if you consider the economic impact outside of that, we're at a 3-to-1. So roughly 1.2 million families are being benefited. Yeah, exactly.
Enrique wanted to share with me an interesting fact on one of the reasons why the maquiladora industry is so important in Mexico.
Mexico graduates more engineers than the U.S. does.
Oh,
something that people didn't know. And Tijuana, in and of itself, has a tremendous academic program, university programs. There's a lot of partnership between the education system and the manufacturing.
Are you saying that the industry kind of communicates with like the universities, this is what we need?
Exactly.
And they prepare?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. So there are engineering programs that were specifically designed for a production process.
So no useless degrees as to how to interpret Teletubbies and that kind of thing. Actually STEM fields.
You know that one of the challenges, I will tell you that one of the challenges that we do find is finding the talent because there's such a high demand for it.
Kidding.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we're very proud to export. We do export talent.
There is so much talent in Baja California. All the STEM field graduates are an asset to the region, something they can really be proud of. But there's also another remarkable evolution taking place here.
The pandemic has been unique in that a lot of manufacturing that used to be done in Asia is now coming back, and it's nearshoring.
So nearshoring is a real thing.
It's a real thing. We've seen it now for the last probably year and a half. What we find more often than not is that cost is not the driver for why companies want to set up shop.
That's not why a company would leave China and go to Tijuana?
No, not necessarily.
What would it be then?
Well, supply chain, for example, time to market is another one.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot
proximity
of
proximity
to the U.S. Right? And then you've got to consider that Latin America, Mexico is its own market, and so they want to be close to home. They want to be able to deliver just in time. They don't want to have to carry those inventories. They don't want to have to contend with some.
So are you saying that a company based in Tijuana could basically supply U.S. and Latin American markets with their product? Wow,
that's correct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's correct.
But now I want to know if it's easy to set up a manufacturing business in Mexico. I think Enrique is the right man to answer that question.
So there's a couple different ways that a manufacturing company can set up shop in Mexico. One is they can go out and do it on their own, and they can hire the attorney and the accountant, and they can go through that process on their own. Probably going to take them about 2 years. Another is to do it through a company like ours, where we already have all of the infrastructure in place.
Okay.
We have the Mexican entity in place, we have all the permits in place, and we provide all of the administrative infrastructure, accounting, transportation, logistics. So their focus is equipment, raw material, and production, and we do everything else. And we've been fortunate enough now to be in business for 42 years.
How many factories do you have right now?
We have 28 factories throughout Mexico. So we're not only Tijuana, Mexicali, Tecate. We have Mérida, we have Monterrey, and we're right around 3,500 employees.
So it's a common practice which facilitates operations for foreign investment, right?
Yes.
I don't want to wait the 2 years. I want to get my plant set up immediately, plug and play. How long does it take with a company like yours? How long does it take them to start building?
We can typically get a project going in anywhere from 4 to 6 months.
That's breaking ground,
It depends on the complexity of the project. If we're talking a greenfield project where we're going to build a site, we're going to develop it from scratch, you're probably looking at about a year. Construction time alone is about 9 months.
And that means you're building the
We're
plant.
building the plant. We're
Gotcha.
we're doing all the infrastructure. If we already have a site available for the project, and it's, let's say, an assembly type project, we can usually get those up and running in about 6 months.
Okay, so imagine I want to set up a factory that builds stormtrooper helmets from Star Wars, in mass scale. What do I need to do?
Well, first we have to make sure that we have the supply chain and the infrastructure around that. So, can we do it? Yes. We've been asked to do some really wild things, and I won't get into that. But we have to figure out what your raw material is. We have to figure out, what equipment you already have in place. Is this a startup company, or are you already manufacturing this somewhere else and you're bringing it over? We have a division that focuses exclusively, for example, contract manufacturing projects. Companies that don't want to come to Mexico, but they want their product manufactured here, and they don't have the resources or the know-how or the know-who, they'll come to us, and we do that for them.
Amazing.
And we turn around the project.
To end things off, I wanted to know if Enrique had some crazy anecdotes from the work that he does with his company.
So there's a funny story. We were in downtown San Diego, and they needed to get their facility up and running as soon as possible. And this was a greenfield project. We didn't have a site, we didn't have a building. We had a site, we didn't have a building built. And it's a big project. This is a 300,000 square foot facility that we were looking at. And things got livelier as the night went on.
Some spirits were shared.
I got on the phone with one of my partners here in Tijuana. I said, we need to break ground in the next 2 weeks.
Over beers.
300,000 square foot. Oh, no, I've got the client in front of me and him on the phone. And I said, are we ready? It's a 10-year project.
You signed the contract right there?
We cheered the contract on the spot, and we got the project
Gentleman's
going.
agreement.
Gentleman's agreement.
Did he come through?
This is it. We're here. We're here.
Oh, that is so cool. You're like Robert De Niro. I heard Robert De Niro close a movie like that. I'll play the dad, and you'll play the dude. If you shake my hand, that's how it's going to happen. And they did that, and that's how it happened.
There you go.
You're like Robert De Niro, right there.
So after learning about the ins and outs of nearshore manufacturing and getting to experience amazing human stories on our tour of this call center in Tijuana, we look forward to more mind-expanding adventures the next time we cross south.
Like to know more about the places you've just seen? Maps, videos, podcasts, and more at CrossingSouth.com. We also do Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.